This is the Radically Realistic Podcast. I'm Susanna LaPointe, a 14-year personal training and nutrition coaching veteran. My wellness coaching practice incorporates strength, nutrition, and self-care. Because while fitness and nutrition are very important, they are just the tip of the iceberg as far as taking really amazing care of ourselves goes. So I incorporate all other types of self-care practices into my coaching as well. I call this podcast Radically Realistic because when it comes to implementing sustainable habits and practices to improve ourselves or our lives, they must be realistic and they must fit into our current lives. Otherwise, they won't stick. And then what even is the point? Join me each week as we explore another aspect of taking amazing care of ourselves through a lens of being super realistic about what we can and will actually fit into our lives. Let's get started with today's show. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Radically Realistic Podcast again. I am Susanna LaPointe, your host, coming at you with some real talk about ways we can improve our lives one tiny step at a time. And of course, today is no different. And one of the things I want to share with you today is one of the things that has far and away made one of the biggest difference in my life in the past few years. And that is having a regular meditation practice. Now, before your eyes glaze over, because that is the reaction I get a lot when I talk about meditation, I hope you'll hear me out because there are a lot of benefits to having a regular meditation practice, and I hope you will agree with me after I'm done today that it might be a good thing to try and add into your life. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've noticed the uptick in people talking about meditation over the past few years. And that's because it's truly so incredibly beneficial on so many levels. And I want to share with you some of the reasons why I highly suggest everyone add at least a short meditation practice into their lives most days of the week. In order for it to be truly effective, regular practice is very important. You can't meditate one time and feel the benefits. It may calm you in the moment, but for most people, I have found it takes a few weeks of practicing regularly to really understand what it is that meditation does for you when you're not meditating. It shows up later. So you put this time in regularly, day after day, and then one day you kind of notice like, oh, that's why I'm meditating. Like it will kind of show up later on. My definition of meditation is the act of stepping back and being the observer of your thoughts instead of being a victim to your thoughts. Because we are pelted all day long with thoughts, and we don't generally recognize what each individual thought is. Most of us go through the day with thoughts just peppering us from our subconscious, and unless you have a regular practice in which you have practiced stepping back and observing these thoughts, you really can't know what they are and what they are doing to you. First of all, let's talk about what meditation is not. Meditation is not clearing your mind or emptying your mind. That's kind of an old idea of what it is. That's not what it is. It is not some weird thing that only super enlightened spiritual people do. You definitely don't have to be a monk. You don't have to sit in a certain position, and you don't have to say Om. And there are a lot of misconceptions around what meditation is. And this is what it is. It is a practice, and it is an emphasis on the word practice. It's always a practice. Most of the things I talk about are actually practices, and that means that we can take the pressure off of ourselves to be perfect at any of these things. First of all, striving for perfection is really inefficient, especially with meditation. So get the perfection thing out of your head right now and start thinking of things as a practice. Okay, so meditation is a practice that actually works on strengthening your brain's ability to come back to a focus point instead of getting carried away by the thoughts that continually pelt us all day long. Generally, that focus is on our breath. And all you do is sit in a comfortable position. I often sit in my bed upright, leaning against the wall, against pillows. Oftentimes I have a cat in my lap and sometimes like a drink in my hand, like a warm drink. And all you do is sit in a comfortable position and close your eyes and breathe. And what we try to do is stay with our breath. And that just means noticing it coming in and out. And when you notice that your mind wanders, which it always will, no matter how long you've been meditating, you catch yourself and bring your attention back to your breath. That's truly all it is. Sounds pretty simple, and it actually is. So the concept is simple, but the distractions for sure come in all the time. The longer you do it, the less distractions there are because your brain gets stronger at staying on the focus point. It's like strengthening a muscle when you're exercising. When you start, you're not very strong, and the more you practice, the stronger you get, and the easier it gets. Same with meditation. Oftentimes when I mention to clients or people or whoever about meditation, how meditation could help or whatever, the answer I often get is, oh, I'm not good at meditation. I tried it once. The truth is, no one is good at meditation. That's why it's a practice, and that's why we keep showing up, because truly, truly, truly the rewards will be there if you keep going. I started meditating back in 2015. I started meditating with the intention of reducing my anxiety, specifically around going on rafting trips in the summer with my son who has a chronic disease. It was super anxiety inducing for me to go rafting out in the middle of nowhere with no medical help anywhere around should there be a problem. I had a ton of anxiety around this particular situation, and I intentionally started meditating in order to try to reduce my stress around this particular activity. I started with the app Headspace, which I still use today, among other things, but it's a guided meditation app which I highly recommend. This teaches you the basics. The first 10 days are always free on this particular app, so you can kind of get into it and see what it's about. And then you can pay a subscription, which is definitely worth it if you're going to be using it. Most of the meditation apps are this way too, where it kind of gives you a week or 10 days for free, so you can kind of get into it and see if you like the layout and the voice and everything, and then you can pay a monthly or yearly subscription, which if you do it, it's 1000% worth it. Anyways, in this particular app, in Headspace, you go through a 30-day foundation training, so you really learn how to do it with a guide. There's a guide there that tells you exactly what to do. And then you can pick different things to focus your daily meditations on. So for instance, with this app, you can pick working on patience or stress or motivation or even like mindful eating. There's so many different topics. There's like 50 maybe different things that you can pick. And you can do a 10 to 30 day program based on training your brain to deal with these particular situations more effectively. There are lots of different apps that have this sort of template, a good foundational training, and then you pick a different focus. And it kind of just depends on what's going on in your life, and you can focus your training on that on any particular day. And usually they give you kind of like a 5 to 20 to 30 minute range that you can also pick. So you're not like locked in for 20 minutes. You could do a 5-minute meditation, no problem. And they're all a little bit different, but a couple good ones are Headspace, which is my favorite. Calm is a good one. Balance is another good one. And then there's Insight Timer, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of different meditations on that one. They're free, but they're not in any particular order. They're just kind of one-off meditations. So you kind of have to poke around a little bit until you find one that you like. So that one's free, but it's not as organized as the other ones are. So it makes it a little bit more challenging to get into a regular practice if you're not following a plan at first. But I've been doing this for about 5.5 years, and I will never stop. The difference in my life and my brain and my stress and my ability to notice when I actually am stressed is huge. The benefit in this is noticing what it is that is affecting us. Most of us, like I said, go through our days being pummeled with thoughts that are affecting us, but we don't actually know what they are because we haven't been able to step back and observe the thoughts coming in. And that's what meditation does for you. It helps you step back and see what the thoughts for what they are, and then you can choose to kind of continue going down that road, or you can choose to kind of gently push it away and move on to the next thing and not let that thought take you for a ride. For instance, I'm going to use myself as an example here. I spent the majority of my life, probably from about age 12 till my late 20s, falling into what I just considered a bad mood. I didn't have any idea what was causing these mood fluctuations. I couldn't control it. I didn't know where it was coming from. I just remember noticing that my mood would change suddenly and I didn't have any idea why. Over the past 5 years, though, I have noticed that my, quote, bad mood, quote, was actually anxiety. And that's just how it happens to manifest in my life. Now that I'm pretty good at observing my thoughts that I have, I can trace back, like when I kind of get triggered into this bad mood, I can kind of trace back and figure out what thought or situation caused it. And generally, these are things that I wouldn't normally be aware of, but now that I have the practice of stepping back and observing my thoughts, I can see what it is that tips me off and then kind of go back and undo it. Hopefully that makes sense. Another super amazing benefit of meditation is just reduced stress overall. And that just comes from practicing breath work over time. Most of us are breathing so shallowly and not even getting a full dose of oxygen every time we breathe that it kind of just keeps us in this heightened fight or flight state all the time. If we are not getting full breaths in and out, your body can't actually relax. And unless you are observing your breath, you won't even notice if you're getting a full breath or not. Basically, meditation is a ticket to getting to know yourself so much better and then being able to make changes based on the feedback that you are getting as you observe your breath and your thoughts. This may sound a little woo-woo, but there's so much actual scientific research to back up the changes that happen in your brain as a result of consistent meditation. So a couple episodes ago, I talked about having a consistent morning practice. I think that having a short meditation practice is one of the best ways to spend your time at the very beginning of the day to start your day grounded and tuned in. I also mentioned in that episode a link to a YouTube video I made on a little practice called Mind Right Meditation. I'm actually going to lead you through that short practice here in a few minutes so you can see what actually can take place in just a short time. I'm also going to link to that video in the show notes here so you can go back if you want to try it later on. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you of the importance of having a consistent meditation practice. I am not joking when I say it will truly change your life. It's not an immediate change, but over time you will notice that you are so much less reactive, so much more calm, so much slower to freak out, and just generally less stressed overall. I would also like to add that until I started meditating, I just couldn't get a handle on my binge eating. Because I didn't know what thoughts were in my head driving me to eat, I couldn't change my reactions to those thoughts. But after several months of practicing consistently, I started to realize that I wasn't reacting to my impulses nearly as quickly, and I was able to really slow down, step back, and not feel that impulsive need to grab food and shove it in my mouth. This would also translate to many other areas. One of them being, if you have small children and you lose your temper easily with them, if you start meditating consistently, you would probably notice your ability to react less quickly. Same with any other type of impulse. Maybe you have an impulse to like a shopping addiction, or if you reach for alcohol impulsively, or anything else that's kind of impulsively where you just kind of grab at something or do something quickly without thinking about it first. Meditation will slow down this reaction time a lot and help you to just respond instead of react to situations that might be stressful otherwise. So overall, meditation just reduces your stress on so many different levels. And who does not need more of that, especially at this very stressful time in our lives? So there really isn't a better time than now to start a consistent meditation practice. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through this very short little meditation practice just so you can get a little idea of what it could look like. This is a Mind Right meditation practice. I did not make it up. And I'm, again, linking to it in the show notes if you want to go back to it. I just made a short YouTube video. But this is a 4 to 5 minute practice with 4 different areas of focus. And let's just begin. If you're driving, you could totally do this. If you have the ability to like sit and close your eyes for a few minutes, that would be awesome. If you're driving, you can do this. If you're going for a walk, you could still kind of do this. But Generally, sitting and closing your eyes and really being with your breath in the moment is ideal, but I'm guessing most of you are probably not just sitting there listening to this. So what you would do is sit down and just observe your breath, which just means breathe in and breathe out, and just feel your breath coming in your nose and then going out your nose or your mouth, whatever's most comfortable to you. It doesn't matter. And the first focus of this little meditation is to observe some gratitude. So I want you to get something in your head that you feel grateful for. And I just want you to just kind of focus on that for a moment. Think of something like for me today, I'm super grateful that I'm going to go up to Seattle and see my son. I'm super grateful that I get the opportunity to do this. I'm just kind of envisioning what it's going to be like to see him and talk to him. I haven't seen him in several weeks. I just need to make sure that he's doing okay. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do this. So you just hold a little gratitude in your heart for a few minutes. Then the next step is to lift someone up. So this could be someone you love, someone you know is having a hard time, someone you care about, maybe the person that works at the grocery store down the street. It doesn't really matter who it is. You want to think of someone and lift them up and just kind of think, send good thoughts and love to them. And this just kind of puts a right focus in your heart and just gives you a good feeling towards that person. So think of someone you love and just send them some light and some love. And then the third part is, what would make you feel successful today? And just kind of think in your head, not necessarily like a to-do list, but just like what is exciting for you to do today? What would make you feel like you accomplished something today? Could be a workout, could be a phone call to a friend, could be that, an insurance phone call you've been needing to make for weeks and you've been putting it off. Just something that you are intending to do today that would make you feel successful. You just kind of think about that and focus on that for a couple moments. And then the last part is just observing your breath and just paying attention to the sounds around you, just basically being present in the moment, breathing, observing the sounds. What do you hear right now? Do you hear birds? Do you hear cars? Do you hear your annoying clock ticking? Could be anything. And that's it. It's basically just a short little kind of get present in the moment practice. This is like one of the most basic little meditation practices you could start with. Okay, so that's what I have to say about meditation today. As always, I totally encourage you to reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions, or you can email me. All my information for contact is in the show notes. I would love to hear from you for any reason. If you have questions, if you have comments, constructive criticism, I would love to hear from you. And I truly appreciate everyone who has reached out to me. I really, really appreciate your feedback a lot. And I would just ask that you could write a review or rate this podcast. Just helps it get out there. Sorry to keep asking about that, but we got to keep it going. So I just appreciate anything that you can do to share it or review it. I appreciate it. And I also, like I said, please reach out to me at any point in time. And thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting me be in your ears for a few minutes every week. I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I will talk to you next week. Have a lovely day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.